Hey guys, today I'm here to do a brief review of Shortcomings by Adrienne Tomine. And I say this is going to be short because one, my light is totally fading. I'm actually watching the sunset right now, but also because I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but because it is a graphic novel, I wanted to do a video review so that I could show some of the artwork. The first thing I want to admit is that I am not entirely sure where this falls in the chronology of Adrienne Tomine's work. On Goodreads, I believe it's listed as number 10 in his series of graphic novels, but I don't know if those graphic novels have an overarching plotline or themes, or if they're just numbered because those are the volumes that he's published. I'm not really sure. I didn't do a whole lot of research on that, but I do think you could read this as a standalone. I think you get a pretty good sense of the individual characters in this volume alone. Shortcomings follows Ben Tanaka and his relationship or not so relationship with his girlfriend Miko, and as their names might suggest, they are both Japanese American. However, the main difference is that Miko is completely comfortable with being Japanese American, while Ben Tanaka is basically the textbook definition of self-hate. Ben has a very whitewashed view of what it means to be Asian American, and he's very clearly uncomfortable in his skin, and he kind of takes that out on Miko. At the beginning of the graphic novel, you get to take a look at the unraveling relationship between Ben and Miko, and ultimately Miko takes an internship in New York City and moves away from Oakland, California, where they were both living, and Ben is pretty much left to pick up the pieces of his lack of life. This graphic novel deals a lot with sexuality and sexual attraction, especially as Ben experiments with some relationships with Caucasian girls, and you get to see how that goes and how his own self-doubt and self-hate plays into the failure of most of his relationships. That's kind of all I want to say about the plot of this graphic novel, because I think it's good that you go into it and then get kind of smacked over the head with the message that Tomine is trying to get across. When I first started this, I thought Tomine was being incredibly heavy-handed with his message of kind of racial struggle and identity struggles, and I felt like he was hitting me over the head with the message like, Ben is uncomfortable in his skin, he doesn't get what it means to be an Asian American, he doesn't understand how you can be two cultural identities in one. And at first that was making me really angry, and honestly when I first finished this I was like, God, I hated that. That was awful. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that I didn't actually hate it. It just made me angry, and it made me angry that he had to be this obvious, because these are topics that don't really get talked about in general society. I also want to just briefly mention that I love the art in this. I think it's beautifully drawn. I think that you really get a sense for the different ethnicities of the characters in a beautiful way that I haven't seen done in graphic novel form before. I just think it's really stunning. Very simple, yet very well done. And I really like the use of black around Ben's character, because he is a very isolated person, because he's isolated from himself, if that makes sense, which you'll understand if you have read this or do read this. But I love the use of black. I think it's very, very fitting. Yeah, I would highly recommend this for both the artwork and the message. Ultimately, I gave this 4 stars because it got such a visceral reaction out of me, such an angry reaction that I haven't experienced with the book in a very long time, that it must be doing something right if I can become that emotionally vested in such a short graphic novel. This is only just over 100 pages, and it really got a strong reaction out of me, and I think that deserves 4 stars. I should mention that this graphic novel has nudity, it has a lot of sexual themes and some sexual scenes, and has a lot of swearing. So if you're uncomfortable with any of that, don't pick this up. But I would highly suggest this for anybody who's interested in identity development or cultural development, or what it means to be a multicultural person. And I just think this has so many messages in here that people should at least be thinking about. Even though this graphic novel doesn't give you any answers in the end, which at first I found infuriating, I think these are important things that we need to be talking about. Alright you guys, those are all of my thoughts on Shortcomings by Adrienne Tomine. If you have read this graphic novel and you would like to share your thoughts, please do so. And if you have any recommendations on other graphic novels I would maybe like based on my opinions here, please suggest those to me, because I'm relatively new to graphic novels and I'm trying to get more into them. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye! I literally filmed until the sun went down. So I just wanted to show you what I've been looking at while filming, and I just want to say I feel incredibly lucky to have this beautiful view to look at while I'm filming videos. Welcome to Southern California.